So Media Matters put together a compilation of Fox News discussing the issue of climate change, and it is unbelievably terrible.
Climate change is a hoax, something I've been saying for a long time.
No. Is it a hoax? I think it is a hoax.
I don't believe it for a second. I think it's a big con.
Global warming is caused mostly by humans' activities.
Is it really now?
So if it's an actual emergency, why does anyone in Berkeley have an air conditioner?
Tell us, global warming, what's going to happen? Do we even need our air conditioners?
Is it settled science? I know there are a lot of people who say absolutely.
How big of an issue is global warming?
Well, that convinced me there is global warming.
They didn't tell me the carbon footprint was going to be a stiletto heel.
We're the ones being compared to the flat earth believers. Yet, if you know history, I mean the basic rudimentary history, you know the word Galileo.
The science on this is by no means settled.
Everybody agrees, but they don't agree.
Still to this day, there is not a consensus amongst scientists.
Okay.
For every one scientist that says there is, I'll give you 10 scientists that said it's not man-made.
If it snows, global warming. If it doesn't snow, global warming. In case you're keeping track at home, low temperatures are proof of global warming. So are high temperatures, heat waves. If there's an earthquake, global warming. If there's not one, global warming. It doesn't matter. They blame everything. Also, hurricanes are, but droughts are too.
Pretty much predict that moments after a catastrophe, global warming freaks will link it to global warming.
The Earth has a fever.
The Earth has a temperature. Uh-oh.
Religious belief on the part of the greeners that the Earth is coming to an end and we must save it.
How do you solve or address a problem when they keep exaggerating the end result of what could happen?
Our planet seems to be doing quite nice.
Now to a dire warning about climate change. According to a new report, experts say that we have until 2030 to avoid catastrophe. It also says if unprecedented changes are not made and made soon, there will be irreversible damage to the planet.
Yeah, so there was the report that was released this week. There's going to be up to 7 degrees of Fahrenheit of warming by the year 2100. And like they just mentioned at the end there, that last clip obviously was not Fox News. We have until 2030 to avoid total catastrophe. Listen, we're already seeing the effects of climate change. There was that Hurricane Michael that just slammed into the Florida Panhandle. And get this, even when it got to Georgia, so it was already inland a decent amount, it was still a Category 3. For those, listen, that's a super hurricane there, because usually when it gets inland, they lose power very quickly, hurricanes. This thing was still a Category 3 in fucking Georgia. This is the first one of those in over a century. Now, you can't say, and scientists will point this out, any one particular weather event can be attributed to climate change. You can't do that. But what you can say is, look at the pattern. And the pattern you can attribute to climate change. Weather is what it's like on any one given day. Climate is the weather accumulated over an extended period of time. And obviously, there's been a massive increase in natural disasters. Now, let me be clear about something. There's going to be an increase in natural disasters on both ends of the spectrum. Because what happens is, usually, whenever there's like a cold day, as you saw in that clip, they'll go, "What global warming?" No, read the science on climate change. First of all, there's a reason why it is called climate change now. They bring that up as if it's like we gotcha. No, it's not a we gotcha. It was just labeled incorrectly originally because they thought it'd be more accurate to call it climate change as opposed to global warming, because you will have an increase in extreme weather events on both ends of the spectrum. Now, when you look at the picture overall over an extended period of time, it is true that the average temperature is going to increase. It already has increased drastically, but it will continue to increase over time. So in that sense, sure, you could call it global warming, but climate change is a better term for it because it more accurately describes what's going to happen. I mean, look at how the wildfires now have gotten bigger and they last longer. Look at the increase in the number of hurricanes, for example. And what people don't talk about nearly enough is the fact that this is going to lead to famine, this is going to lead to drought, and that directly impacts the food supply. Obviously, water rise is a big part of this as well, and a lot of coastal cities are in danger. And there can be wars over natural... we already have wars over natural resources, but literally wars over water in some places. That's going to happen in the future. The Middle East is going to be too hot for humans to live in, and there's going to be a refugee crisis the likes of which the world has never seen before. If you think the Syrian refugee crisis is bad now, wait until the entire Middle East has to empty, which is not that far off in the future. I mean, they said by 2100 that could be the case. So... guys, this is as bad as it gets. Now, for Fox News, let me tell you the trick that they did, because in some ways this is brilliant. It's evil, but it's brilliant. What they did is they inverted the conspiracy. So, and this is, you didn't see this in this particular clip, but there are, many examples of different right-wing commentators saying this. They think, and they say, well, the real problem is these government scientists, in order for them to keep getting grant money, they have to keep, pushing doom and gloom scenarios. So there's basically a conspiracy of scientists hosing the taxpayer to continue to get money to do their lucrative studies on climate research. The reality is those grants are meager. Nobody's, what are you doing? You're fucking doing this massive conspiracy where all the world's climate scientists get together and they all agree so you can keep chipping away and getting $40,000 at a time to do boring studies. That's not happening. The reality is they claim, oh, that's the conspiracy. The government and, they're trying to control every aspect of your life and they want to ban golf courses and cars. Yeah, because that's something, the elites are totally, that's what they'd want to ban golf courses under Agenda 21 in the UN. But the real conspiracy, and you guys know this, is you have the same scientists who pushed the notion that cigarettes don't cause cancer. They would say, oh, there's not enough evidence to conclude that. Those are the same scientists who now are arguing that there is no climate change. And, it's a natural occurrence, and it hasn't been proven for sure, and we certainly don't know that humans are responsible for it. Some of them literally the same scientists. The ones who push the cigarette conspiracy are the same ones who are pushing the climate change isn't happening conspiracy. So the real conspiracy here is fossil fuel companies, big oil, they basically pay for junk science and get these unscrupulous actors to muck up a debate. And remember, for that side to win, all they have to do is keep raising a doubt. Because as long as they raise a doubt, we drag our feet. They don't even have to win the argument. They just have to raise a doubt. Just say, oh, not sure. Not convinced. Not sure. And then what happens is, I don't know, I guess it needs more study. So there's this massive industry dedicated to downplaying the impact of climate change because that would affect the bottom line of oil companies, and oil companies have bought the government. Respective governments around the world, to be fair. So we're so dependent on fossil fuel, and those lobbies are so powerful that we're continuing to drag our feet. But the thing is, the Fox News trick, which is clever, is when you invert the conspiracy, you make it so that the people watching the Fox News clip there, they think they're being like edgy outsider truth tellers when they say, oh, there is no climate change. What are you talking about? It's a hoax. That's what it is. See, they think it's like, yeah, I'm going to speak truth to power here because there's a conspiracy of, scientists hosing taxpayers to push this false narrative so that the government can take control of our lives more. But they're being naive to what the real conspiracy is, which is the big oil conspiracy to push the junk science so they can keep making their profits and not allow us to get weaned off of fossil fuels, which we need to do in order for humanity to survive. So by inverting the conspiracy, you allow people to feel like they're being edgy outsider truth tellers, as opposed to being, basically rubes who fell for big oil propaganda, which is what they really are. So it's really sad. It's really sad. And as long as there's a fake debate happening, we're going to keep dragging our feet, and we're destroying the planet. So there's that.